This is the Unity Center's annual Burning Bowl and Whitestone ceremony. Before you begin, you may want to prepare by having a pen and some paper so you can participate in the powerful process of release and manifestation.
All righty. I was afraid if I started talking about the STEP program or if I started talking about life groups, I would spend way too much time on those two programs, but suffice it to say, I am so excited about these offerings for the new year. We've listened to the things that you've said you're really longing for and wanting, and we've tried to create programs specifically to meet your requests and your interests, so I'm excited about that. And I am thrilled to see so many of our Unity community family here. Look around. See who you see that you haven't seen for a while, and just enjoy that we are together as a great big Unity Center family. I love this service, and looking at you, I suspect that you do as well. You can clap for that. You know, you may be doing some fun things this evening, going out partying and dancing and all of the things that many people do on New Year's Eve. Some of you may choose not to do any of that, but what I know is coming together for this, our Burning Bowl Whitestone ceremony, is really one of the most powerful ways to prepare yourself for a more beautiful new year. And I rather suspect that you know that too, and that's why you are here today. It's a fun service. It's different than what we typically do on a Sunday morning, and it requires that we prepare ourselves for something new. We are here because we long for something more, do we not? There are things that we know that we want to let go of, and there are things that we know that we want to bring into the new year. And one of the things that we absolutely know for certain is that change is a part of all of that. That the you that is sitting here right now is not the one that's going to be able to do what your heart and your soul longs for. That the you that is sitting here needs to grow and needs to change. And part of that is embracing change with a new attitude, with a joyful attitude, with a trusting attitude. And with that in mind, our Soul Notes band and our music team has a fun song prepared for us on embracing change. Please welcome them to the platform. So it's absolutely true that our growth involves changing our thoughts, changing our attitudes, changing some of our habits, changing some of our actions, our ways of being. But it also involves trusting ourselves. It involves trusting ourselves to such an extent that we never, ever, 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 ever give up. One of my favorite scripture verses comes out of 1 Corinthians, and it speaks to the idea that eye has not seen, ear has not heard, nor has entered into the heart of man or woman the things that God has prepared for those who love him. And we understand in metaphysics that loving God is not about loving some distant anthropomorphic being sitting somewhere in the sky, but loving the animated force for good that moves in and through all of creation. Loving that and trusting that and knowing that that indwells in each and every one of us, and that we are capable of so much more than what we've already expressed. And that where we stand today, we stand because we have taken steps, we've made decisions, we've learned things, we've let go of things, we've embraced new things that have brought us to this point in time. But why in the world would we ever think that this is it? Because it's not. There's so much more that is always pulling us forward, pulling us toward something more and something greater. And what is important for us to realize is as we answer the call to that something more, that there will be challenges that come in our path, that there will be moments that we have doubt, there will be moments that we are afraid, there will be moments that we don't feel quite up to the task. But beneath those doubts and beneath those questions and beneath that fear, we must tap into that source within us that says to us, but never, ever, ever give up. Say that with me. Never, ever, ever give up. Turn to a person next to you and convince them that you believe that that is so. Go ahead. All right, did you believe them? No, some of you said no. Do it again, one more time. Come on, be convincing. Never, ever, ever give up. That was much more convincing. Much more convincing. Can you imagine if we raise a whole world of young people to really believe in themselves, to believe in their unique gifts, their unique calling, and we emblazoned them, or what's the word I'm looking for, just saturated them with this idea of never, ever, ever give up on yourself. Never, ever, ever give up on the dreams and the goals and the things that you long for. I want to cue up a movie that has been seen by over 10 million viewers. I have shown it here before. It's been a long time since I've shown it, but I wanted to show it again today. It's about a 5-minute video, so if I can have the lights start to come down. It is about a man by the name of Arthur who never, ever, ever gave up. And though what you might be longing for in your life might be very different than what Arthur was striving for, the message of Arthur, the idea of never, ever, ever giving up, should inspire each and every one of us, no matter what it is that we are trying to stretch toward and bring forth in our life. Arthur. Are you inspired? Yes. I've seen that clip quite a few times in preparation for this service, and I watched it many times when I first found it. Just so moved by it, so inspired by his determination, by his courage, by his willingness to take those very first steps to believe that something so completely different than where he was at that moment when he began could be possible for him. I believe with all my heart and soul that we need to trust ourselves more deeply than we do, that we need to believe in those words that eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor has entered into the heart of man, woman, you and myself, what God has prepared for us, meaning what we are capable of becoming. But I want to ask you a question, and that question is, which of these two things will you be doing tomorrow? Tomorrow is the first day of a brand new year, 2018. Which will you be doing tomorrow? Will you be beginning again, or will you be beginning anew? Subtle difference. Will you be beginning again, or will you be beginning anew? I want to suggest that we begin anew. Here are some words written by Unity Minister Jim Rosemary about the difference between the two. We can begin again and potentially repeat the same mistakes, or we can begin anew. Many people begin again, but the ones who live a spiritual life have learned to start over in a brand new way. Obviously, this must occur for a fresh start with an old, unsuccessful method produces after its kind. So to begin anew, we need to make room. To begin anew, there are things we need to leave behind. There are attitudes, there are beliefs, there are actions and behaviors that we need to let go of in order for us to be able to clear the slate and truly begin anew. And so we're going to be preparing ourselves here in just a moment in song and meditation to begin to make room, to begin to open up. And so I'm going to ask the music team to come up again to kind of set the framework for us and prime us in this energy and this attitude of making room and emptying out. And when they're done with their piece, I'm going to take us through a process, a short meditative process of writing down the stuff we know we do not want to carry forward into the new year and repeat. So if I can have the team come back up, and please welcome them. All righty, time for you to do some work. I'd like you to take out your salmon-colored piece of paper. And before you start writing, let me give you a few instructions. How many of you have never been to our Burning Bowl White Stone ceremony before? Raise your hands real high. Say, well, a special welcome to you. I think you're going to continue to be in for a treat. So the Burning Bowl part of our service represents the idea of the power of making room, of really emptying out and clearing out. And we know that there is the physical act of clearing out, but even beyond that is the internal act of clearing out, of releasing and letting go of attitudes and beliefs and thoughts that are limiting and that are holding us back. And so in just a moment, I'm going to take us into just a little bit of a reflection time, a little bit of a meditation time. And in that meditation and reflection, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to invite you to start to write down those things that you know you want to let go of, that you just don't want to carry with you into the new year. Now, a bit of instruction here, and the instruction is you do not have to write an epistle. This is time to do bullet points. You want to empty out of as much stuff. You don't need to put every single detail about what it is you want to release. So try to be more general and realize that this is a process that we're going through to empty out, and you don't have to put in all of the details. And then what we will do is when we're finished with this part of the writing, we will follow the usher's instructions, and we will file out to the barbecue pits that are on the patio. And we will place these pieces of paper in those fire pits, and we will watch them burn, baby, burn. Okay, I know, and you guys, it's funny, when we do our meditation process in here, there's a certain reflective energy, kind of serious energy, but as we start to come back from having burned these pieces of paper, you guys get kind of wild and crazy. So I don't know what's going to happen today, but whatever happens is going to be just fine. So go ahead and just take a moment with your piece of paper in your lap and a pencil or something that you can write with, but close your eyes first. And as you do, just turn your attention within, allowing your attention to just rest on your breath for a few moments. To simply notice the steady breath in and steady breath out. That through every experience you've ever had, easy ones, joyful ones, amazing ones, difficult ones, painful ones, that this simple act of breath, act of breathing, has been with you every moment. And as we allow our attention to rise and fall with each breath, we allow ourselves to enter into a more quiet and reflective state. A state in which we are willing to listen to that deeper wisdom that is ever present in our very soul. That deeper wisdom that longs to be heard and followed. And when it is heard, and when it is followed, our life takes on a beautiful energy and power, and the field of possibility opens ever wider before us. And so, trusting in the wisdom of that power within, we ask to be guided. To be guided in knowing what it is time for us to release. There may be beliefs or behaviors or attitudes that we know are holding us back. And that we know it is time to release and let go. There may be hurts, disappointments from the past, even grudges that we continue to nurse, that it is really time to release and to let go. And so as we take our pencil in our hand and we begin to write, we know that it is the wisdom that is deep within our very heart and soul that clearly and lovingly guides us in this writing, showing us what it is time to release, that we might make room, that we might feel freedom and power and joy. And so we write. You might find it helpful to continue to prime the pump, so to speak, if you find that you've started to slow down in writing, to just take a few deep breaths in and out, and to silently ask of your inner power, your higher power, your inner wisdom, is there anything else in the experiences from this past year, any challenges in relationships, And much the way that we pray affirmatively, we will often add at the end of our affirmative prayers, this or something better. If we feel so inclined, we might add onto this paper our release paper, and anything else that is blocking my higher good, I am ready and willing to release. Anything else that is blocking my higher good, I am ready and willing to release. So take a moment and do your best to finish up. And if you have finished writing, just quickly glance over what you've put on this piece of paper and see if you get a holy yes deep inside your gut, deep inside your soul that says, yep, I am ready to release this. This has got to go. This has got to go. Let's say it together. This has got to go. One more time. This has got to go. This has got to go. Alrighty, I will lead the procession out. Please follow the instructions from the ushers, and we will be going outside and burning these pieces of paper and what they represent, freeing up our energy for something so much better, something so much more. All right. Stay. Do you feel any different? In what way? A little lighter? A little lighter? Yeah, a little more open, a little more making room, a little freer. So, how many of you have ever prepared a piece of land to plant brand new grass or new flowers, and in preparing it, you clear away everything that was there and you pull all of the weeds, right? And what do you know you need to do pretty quickly after you pull all of those weeds? What do you need to do? I'm hearing a couple of different answers. So you're going to prepare the soil, you're going to turn it over, but then what do you need to do pretty darn quickly after that? Plant. And what do you need to do with the planting? You need to make sure that you know what you want to harvest, what you want to wind up with. And if you don't do the proper preparation, and then if you don't quickly plant what you want to harvest, guess what's going to show up in that beautiful weeds? So what do you think this is leading us into now, right? It's leading us into a fundamental metaphysical truth that when we create a vacuum, whether it is clearing room in our house and creating a vacuum that way. Have you ever noticed how you clear a counter? I spent weeks clearing my husband's work counter in the garage. I did not know there could be so many different kinds of nails, nuts, bolts, and screws. And being the Libra that I am, I had to make everything look beautiful and pretty and be organized. And it is amazing how clear that counter was. John came in over this long holiday weekend that we had, and he said, I think I'm going to tidy up the garage counter a little bit. It's amazing how quickly we can clear space, right? But if we're really not mindful of what we want to put back in that space, then it's going to be cluttered and messy. And the same thing is true when we're clearing space in our lives. We want to empty out, yes, we need to make room, but then we really want to be mindful. What is it that we want to harvest? And so as you listen to this song, Wings of Eagles, begin to feel that inspiration move within you. Begin to listen for that still small voice that is saying to you, there's so much more that I have in store for you, so much more than I can be. So as you listen, just let the song and the words inspire you, and then we'll do a little bit of meditation around that and some writing as well. Enjoy. That was one long breath and one long note. All righty, I want you to take out your blue piece of paper. And I want you to think about what's stirring inside of you, what's pulling you forward. Each and every one of us is made for so much more. We have so much more potential and capacity and capability within us. And so what is it that you really long for? What is it that your spirit, your soul is forever saying to you, this, go here, reach here, stretch here? It's so easy sometimes to be clearer on what it is that we don't want than what it is that we do want. Imagine going to a restaurant and you have a menu and the waiter comes up to you and you say to the waiter, I don't want this, I don't want that, and I don't want that, and no, I don't like that, and I don't want this, and I don't want that, and that's all you do. What's going to happen besides frustrating the waiter? You get nothing. You get nothing, right? We've got to be clear with ourselves what it is that we really want. And I think that the things that we really want are not always the things that come top of mind when we ask ourselves, what do you want? I think oftentimes we have to listen a little bit deeper, and we have to listen beneath the form of the thing that we think we want. Does that make sense? So it's easy to say, I want these things, and there's nothing wrong with wanting things. But even more powerful than identifying the things that we want would be to ask ourselves to go a little bit deeper. What is it about that thing that's driving my desire for it? Is it really about greater joy? Is it really about a greater sense of security or a greater sense of well-being or a greater sense of lightness or happiness? When we can touch that, we will touch something very, very real and something that will allow us then to realize that there are many outer forms that could fulfill that deeper desire and that deeper longing. So I want to invite you to take a moment just to get quiet, to touch that place inside where you do feel inspired, to touch that place inside where you absolutely know that you are so much more than what you have yet expressed in your life. And that in no way detracts from all the good that you've already accomplished or all the growth you've already experienced. But there is still yet something pulling you forward. There's a beautiful verse in Scripture that says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And so what we are asking for is clarity around vision for ourselves for this new year. And so as we think more deeply, as we listen more deeply, what is it that we most desire to bring forward in this new year? What kinds of relationships, perhaps? What kinds of experiences? Perhaps even what kinds of things? Trusting that it is your higher self that is writing, take your pencil in hand and begin to jot down the good that you are wanting to welcome into your life in this brand new year. Write as if you are writing almost a letter to yourself. Imagining that it is December 31st, 2018. What is it that you would have wanted to have taken place in that year? Where would you be? How would you be spending your time? In what ways would you have grown? And as you write, if necessary, quiet that voice that sometimes says, "But how?" Quiet that voice of doubt or limit. Eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor entered into the heart of man or woman what God, what Spirit has prepared for them. In a moment, I'm going to invite our music team to come to share another song with us. And as they do, feel free to continue to write, because here's where you want to be a little more specific if you can be. And as you continue to write and are inspired by the next song, if you're so inclined, there's an envelope that was included in your bulletin. And you can, when you're done, you can take these blue sheets of paper and put them in those envelopes and address them to yourselves and leave them with us, leave them in the lobby, and we'll be happy to mail them back to you next November-ish. If you were with us last year, and unless you changed addresses and didn't tell us, we sent those back to you a month or so ago. Or if you want, just keep your blue paper with yourself and look at it throughout the year. But continue to write, and if I can have Janet and Jimmer and Mariah come back to bless us with this song as you finish your writing. The sky is the limit. All righty. One more important thing to do, one more important process piece here. You were each I guess you weren't given, I think the stones were on your chairs this year. So these white stones are an important piece of a tool, of a practice for us for this coming year. So we've spent some time together reflecting upon and being open to what is it that we need to let go of so we can make room for what we want to plant, what we want to experience in our lives. We know how powerful vision is. We know how powerful our thoughts are. We certainly need to be thinking in the right way and acting in the right way as well in order to bring about what it is that we say we really want to experience in this new year. What I know, though, is that besides working at the level of thought, we must work at the level of embodiment. And this is where these white stones come in. They actually come from a part of the book of Revelation, which is an apocryphal book in the Bible, the last book of the Bible. Very hard to understand if you take it literally, and pretty darn scary if you do. It wasn't meant to be taken literally. But there is a verse in Revelation that talks about the idea of being given a new name. I will give you a new name, and I will write it upon a stone. What in the world does that mean to us mystically and metaphysically? The word name, as it is used in the Bible, comes from, I believe it's the Greek, but comes from a root word that refers to nature, the nature of a thing. When in the Old Testament days, and to a certain extent even the New Testament days, people or places were given names, the names were given in a way that described the nature of the person or the place. So the name had some significance. So the idea of being given a new name, being set free with a new name, it refers to the idea of a new nature, a new consciousness, if you will. And that, in large part, is important in order to accomplish the visions and the goals that we set for ourselves. We need to be clear on what it is that we want to bring forth and be willing for that or something better. You can say better joyfully. Better! That or something better, right? To be willing for that or something better. And we need to be clear on what is it that we need to embody. What nature do we have to develop inside of ourselves that we can be the person that can experience and manifest the thing that we desire. And so we're going to be in a reflective state again, to listen for that guiding word or that guiding practice that Spirit would say is ours for the coming year. And so I'm going to call the music team back up to set the tone for us, and then we'll do just a brief little meditation around this. But try when you do, when I lead you through the meditation, try not to pick the word. Let the word pick you. Let the practice pick you. And when it seems to have picked you, try not to argue with it. And if it's the same one you've gotten for the last 3 years, some of you keep saying you keep getting patience or whatever it may be okay with that. Be okay with that, all right? Okay. And so just take your white stone in your hand now and turning your attention inward, following your breath once again. Attention focused in the area of the heart as if each mindful breath is moving in and through the area of the heart. Mind and chatter is quiet and still. Heart is open and receptive. And so you turn deep within with a listening inner ear. To be guided in what your practice, your anchoring practice, is to be for this coming year. The quality that the wisdom of your soul is saying, this is yours to practice this year. This is yours to embody. This is a practice that will carry you through the difficult times. This is a practice that will open new doors. This is a practice that will guide you in ways of purpose and meaning. And so we listen. And we are willing to be surprised. And we are willing even to be confused. For sometimes the word that comes to us is a word we will not fully understand until we begin to apply it. And so knowing that when we are truly open and receptive, that Spirit speaks to us quickly and simply and easily. We take this stone in hand and we write on it that guiding word. And when we have written that word, we hold our stone in our hand, still in a reflective state, holding that stone in our hand, imagining ourselves as the year unfolds, month by month, season by season, holiday by holiday, experience by experience. Seeing ourselves embodying this quality and it being the divine and golden pathway toward the good and greater good that we desire. Take a big, deep breath in. Turn to the person next to you and wish them a happy new year. Would you do that? That sounds wonderful. And from me and my family, from our staff, our music team, and from our board, we wish each and every one of you a very, very happy new year. May all the things that you wrote on that piece of paper, the blue piece of paper, be manifested for you in this new year, and may all the things that you wrote on that salmon-colored piece of paper never show up in your life again in any way, shape, or form. Amen. Hey, very good. Amen. Amen. We're going to be preparing our offering here in just a moment. And while you're doing that, I just want to acknowledge and welcome those of you who are here for the very first time. If this is the first time you've been to the Unity Center, you've certainly picked a very different service, but one that we do every year, either at the very end of the year or the very beginning of the year. If you've not been with us for one of our regular Sunday morning services, they are much shorter. They are a little over an hour, 60, 65 minutes, maybe 70 at most, and they are at 9 and 11 o'clock. And if you are looking to deepen your spiritual practice in your life, we would love to have you come and check us out some Sunday morning. I think we've got too many folks in the room today to go ahead and hand out guest cards, but can I see just by a show of hands who is here for the very first time this morning, so we can simply say welcome and good morning and happy to have you. Welcome, welcome. Actually, I take that back. We will hand out the visitor cards. So during the offering song, Terry and I will come down the side aisles and hand out the little guest cards. If you've got the time and want to join us for coffee or tea, be our guest. We'll be in the Sangha Cafe to do that. If you don't have the time, be sure to pick, if you're here for the first time, be sure to pick up one of the goodie bags that's on the information table in the lobby. There's lots of good information in there. Let us now take the gifts that we would like to share with the Unity Center in appreciation for the work that we do for one another. And we hold these gifts in our hands, knowing that they represent some of the good that we've been blessed with, and that we give it lovingly and joyfully and freely, that the kind of work that is done in and through this community can flourish and continue to help to transform lives and heal our world. We bless this gift with this affirmation: divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Thanks for listening. Sunday services at 9 and 11 a.m. Inclusivity. It's worth the drive. Subscribe to our podcasts and download our free app for instant access to a wealth of spiritual teachings, services, and events.